Greetings, Darklings, from across the interweb. It is once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken, here for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. I have a really exciting, really big guest for today that I can't wait to get to. But before I do, I want to give a shout out here. Yesterday was the birthday of our dear friend Anya, Ya Toyah, who just had a album release here in October on the 4th called Drama. And everything Anya does, she's just one of the most amazing artists out there doing something really fresh and really exciting. But I feel like this album just hit another step and another level. Had a ton of guest contributors that featured in on it, and just was her showing an emotional vulnerability that was absolutely incredible for this record. So I highly recommend everybody go pick that up and wish a happy birthday and a shout out for Anya. And so, without further ado, this is a artist that I've followed since I was a wee little 16-year-old rivet head, heading out to shows. That has been a part of some of the biggest bands and industrials and projects through several decades. My pleasure to introduce En Esch. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
All right. I could just on history, which is usually the first thing I ask about, we could do that for a whole interview, and you have so much new stuff to talk about. So I'll just start with this brief question. When you found yourself kind of in this style of music of electronica or industrial or on this journey, you might have had I don't know, whether as a show you saw at one point, an album you got that flipped a light for you and said, this is me. Tell me about that first thing that really spoke to you, that made you want to be a part of this music and this scene.
Yeah, it's very simple. I mean, growing up in Germany, oh, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Growing up in Germany, bands who are very influential for all of us, just like people on the edge of once was being a hippie and then becoming this new kind of new agey kind of thing. Not new agey, but new wave-ish kind of thing. It's of course a band like Deutsch-Amerikanische Freundschaft, like DAF.
Yes.
It's like this really pulsing synth lines, this minimal production, and and this stuff. Also, I think later what was very influential for especially these bands like KMFDM and stuff was this band Young Gods.
Yes.
Young Gods from Switzerland, who actually pretty much started in the same kind of time frame, but they were the ones who used the guitar samples all of a sudden. I remember when KMFDM actually opened up for Young Gods. It was a few years later. It was in Utrecht, in the Netherlands. And I was surprised to see Young Gods being a trio, having like a guy with a sample keyboard, like just a keyboard firing up heavy metal sounds, like heavy metal guitar licks from all over the place, and half of them stolen basically. And having a real drummer, double bass drummer, and like the singer drums. So it was very, very very interesting to see that. Kind of like they sounded like a rock band, basically like a metal band, but they were like this kind of three Swiss guys.
Yeah.
With a sampler on stage. So that was like pretty impressive. And then, of course, we started to do certain things like that, and it came to that point that we had a guitar player like Günther Schulz. We found he was like an old friend of mine, and he started out to play on top of this kind of, let me say, samples from other people. But so we created our own sound basically by having this three guy playing on top of it. So that was like the first steps into this kind of crossover. We called it back then crossover style. And so Young Gods were very influential, but with the synth lines and this pulsing and danceable things, it was very much Deutsch-Amerikanische Freundschaft. Of course, like there's Einstürze Neubauten that was very influential on us too, as Germans. this kind of freestyling sound and noise, and this kind of totally off the hook from a normal musical perspective.
I remember
Very
I had an interview with Mona Muir, who is a frequent collaborator with you, and her talking about that Neubauten there in Berlin and kind of the punk rock ethos of kind of the art electronic music scene of that time.
exactly. Yeah, Mon Amour, yeah, is of course very close to me, and we work on different things and stuff. Yeah, her first band had think two members of, or think no, three members of Einstürze Neubauten. So and Alexander Hacke, and there was also Mike Chung in the early stages. But then it was FM Einheit, we called Mufti. Yeah, these people, very impressive. I saw her the first time when KMFDM opened up for her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like in the all there was like, I don't want to say it, but it was really in 1985. And there was like one of the first shows we did. I mean, like a few shows before that, but I mean, so KMFDM back then was jamming along. And we had this kind of like idea of like P-funk, a new P-funk thing. You know what I'm saying? So, and we didn't have that much possibility. So we actually had a lot of primitive equipment, and we didn't want to be a normal band. So we used kind of drum machines here and like little sample pedals here and there. There was like stuff available. You could sample the one bass note into it,
Yeah.
and then it was triggered by the drum machine's tom-tom output and all this stuff. And we had this P-Funk idea. So we had like, I think we had like six themes, and every theme we kind of jammed out on for half an hour. That was just but obviously we had to reduce it being opening up, but we just jammed along. We had a lot of friends on stage and they enjoyed us, and then just screaming and like a lot of crazy stuff happening. And then so we opened up for Mon Amour. That was the first time I saw her, and it was like impressive to see her and with this Neubauten people and
Yeah.
her like being this kind of like serious singer, and being like really calm in a way, and these other people like wow, just like moving around and very hefty music, and that was pretty impressive. Yeah.
I think another thing when I think of kind of your history and coming through is you started as a drummer, a percussionist, right? I mean, that was your original kind of, and I think for a lot of industrial electronic bands, some of the great ones, to me, a lot of them come from drummers because the rhythm has to be such a key component, I think, of music, of that dance music. Um, what do you think was your biggest takeaway from that moving in? And did you kind of first get into the music thinking of percussion first before from a songwriting standpoint, when you look at making a new song or a new idea, do you still come from a percussion standpoint?
Yeah, you cannot generalize that. It depends on what song we're talking, and it is percussion is very important in my book, of course. Not because I'm a drummer, but I was not only a drummer, but I started out as a drummer when I was 2 years old, and my mother says I was sitting on the table and drumming with my fingers and with all kind of stuff. And so I was drumming since I'm 2 years old. I got on my parents' nerves, and they loved it, of course. But I mean, sometimes they didn't, because it was all the time, and they couldn't even watch TV without me being like jamming along with the music on TV and stuff. So, and then with 14, it was a really late. I'm 14, I had my first band. And I had a drum kit, simple drum kit I bought, and I was like already capable to play already because I was trained on the table and stuff. But it was a very good thing. So I was always like interested in percussion and understood that. But also I was always trying to be a singer also. I remember that in my first band I was singing on the drums already. You know what I'm saying? And so I did that for a few years, singing on the drums in
Wow,
crazy
Phil
bands I
Collins
had.
style.
Yeah. Not Phil Collins, I wouldn't say that. Maybe this kind of weird guy from the Eagles or so, whatever.
um,
It's weird to look at, But I mean, so
yeah,
with other words, there was of course a big influence. Let me say, from that, I always liked dance music a lot. I liked a lot of the disco stuff and stuff like that early on because it was just so so brutal and inconsistent in the fucking approach. And that more you drum, that better you get as a drummer, you have to realize that you're not perfect. You like it's just kind of they're not really. It's about a different thing. If you're really drummer, it's about this kind of feeling and this groove and this this difference and nuances and stuff. But if you have a machine, you have this perfect driven machine. The driven part fascinated me. I'm saying this kind of forward and with no interruption and like no mistake. So that was always important. But I will write music. It's not necessarily the rhythm. That a lot of times it's kind of a line and a lyric line even, and a little idea I record on my cell phone or whatever. It can be really something very, very smart, and a lot of the times has to do with the vocal line or like kind of a chorus almost like that.
Yeah. No, that's great. So going on beyond history now and kind of talking about now, well, I guess I'll blend the two a little together, but you're touring right now with Pig and Raymond, and I believe Curse Mackey is doing some of the shows there, and I know Unit Code Machine, Eric, is out doing those shows. I'm looking forward to see you guys soon in Detroit. Um, Tell me a little bit about first maybe a memory that you've had of kind of all your years of working with Raymond, and what that's been like, and how you guys interact together, but then also for this tour in particular, getting back out on the road and doing it again. What's been enjoyable about it, and still a lot of fun at getting out on the road and seeing fans?
Well, seeing the fans is definitely a very important part for me. That was another reason why I went on this tour. I mean, I like to support Raymond and his stuff, and it's obviously his band more than it's mine. But if I see the result every night of people who are so thankful and grateful and come to me and you are my childhood hero, then I feel like, that's weird. When you look already old and I'm like your childhood hero, and I feel like 100 years old. But I mean, it's just crazy to see even older people. I have the feeling that some of the crowd is actually like went old with us, they became old with
Sure.
us. But to see them totally like enjoying themselves, kind of being excited and losing their marbles in a way, like and being like tripping into our music is just incredible. It's incredible. And then after the show, it's just like the warm welcome and the warm words. Everybody wants to take a photo and stuff. That's really crazy. With Raymond, we go way back. I mean, Raymond was very influential in the beginning of the real KMFDM when we started out to be like recording artists and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, this very small studio in Hamburg. Because he went from London to Hamburg to become actually a bass player in this band called Abwärts.
Yeah.
That also has to do with Mon Amour. That was a long story, but he also recorded Mon Amour's first recordings in the same studio.
Yeah,
But
I
then
remember
then
we
we
talked about that. Yeah.
exactly then we recorded the first KMFDM stuff with him, and he was the first one that had a sampler. Like it was a very primitive thing. We were totally fascinated by that. And that also was part of our history that we became fanatic with the sampling and this kind of stuff, because it's obviously, it sounds kind of stupid that you sample, but it's not only a sample from other people, it's also using it as an instrument by itself with your own material. So we had a sampler that was like, I think it has like 8 seconds sampling time. That was it. And it was pre-MIDI, so we triggered it with also outputs from the drum machine, and we had
Yeah.
the keyboard. We changed the pitch, but the thing was fired up by the tom-tom output. That was just really crazy. And it was very impressive. And Raymond did very wonderful work back in the day. It was like an 8-track analog machine in a basement, in a hollow basement, in a cold, wet basement. And there was the drum set of the upwards people, and I played on that, and we had like played guitar there, and it was a very primitive setup and considered nowadays. But we did wonderful work there, and it was pretty impressive. So and I got with him along well back in the day, musically. So we just hammered along on the keyboard and just did things together, and we were like basically on the same page. Probably more than Sasha, and then
Sure.
but I mean,
Yeah.
that came later. Then the Sasha thing became stronger later then. But the arrangement was very important back in the day.
Well, and obviously the two of you are still communicating musically well now. I know just beyond you playing live with him, but when I interviewed him and talked with him recently, he talked about kind of you guys and the songwriting process and exchanging ideas and whatnot that you've both done for each other. And I think a lot of times people lose sight of how essential that is for a band. That it's not just about being talented on your instrument and whatnot. It's also about being able to cohese with someone else because you can't always do everything yourself.
That's correct. And some people have to understand that. But no, it's wonderful that we have this collaboration still going on to a certain degree. It's of course different nowadays. But I like to join him for a few things I'm doing on his record, and he likes to join me on my records, and so it's kind of like a give take, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, yeah. And of course, collaboration is the key to a certain degree. But I mean, I like to collaborate on my solo stuff a lot, and you know, I had this has a tradition, and but on the other hand, you need, of course, the final product has to be one perspective of maybe one person only, you know, or like maybe say in a close group of people. Because I mean, you know, you cannot have all the opinions. You cannot combine that. You have
Yeah. Too many
the
chefs in the
input.
kitchen.
Exactly. When you have the input is very important, but then the decisions, the final decisions, have to make by a small group or like one person.
So let's move on to that a little bit because you have a brand new record out, Dance Hall Putsch. Um, and I mean, I feel like when I listened to this, and I did a lot the last couple days in particular, that it was, to me, your most cohesive solo album in
Oh yeah.
terms of that. I don't know. I really feel like your voice and kind of like you said, the vision of it was very much, I don't know, the things even on a KMFDM album that I think of the En Esch part of that. Tell me a little bit about why this record was special to you. What you felt like you did new on it and grew on it doing
Mm-hmm.
this album, and then maybe some of the people who joined you in collaboration and added something to it.
Well, you know, it was. I worked on it during the epidemic. I
Sure.
mean, that was obviously a big part of that. And what's also different, maybe from the other solo albums, is that I produced my voice maybe a little better, and I make it
Yeah.
maybe a little more dominant. In the old days, I just kind of like underrated my voice, maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, so and in this time I was just going a little further and made it more in your face or one's face. And of course, it was a lot of things were written in the epidemic in the and so it was a different and of course I stopped drinking at the same time, so you know it's that kind of thing that went together, you know. So it was done without alcohol, a lot of it,
Yeah.
and it was also done in the COVID days. So I tried originally to be more upbeat, to be more positive, and but then unfortunately the Ukraine war started,
Right.
and so the whole thing went downhill. And then I became wanted to be more political again. So this is a kind of a combination of this want to be actually upbeat and then starting to be more serious again and be more sinister because it's in Berlin they live very close to that.
Right.
Berlin is very much in the east part, so we are 70 kilometers. That's 35 miles or whatever. No, not 35 miles, maybe
Sure.
45 miles or whatever. You know, I think it's about 50 miles. So I can look it up. Divided by 1.6, and you have the right number. So 70 kilometers
Sure.
away from the Polish border. And Poland is one country, it's pretty large, but then the next country to east is Ukraine.
Yes.
So we're like 500 miles away. I think I kind of figured that out before. So it is very, very close to us, and gives us a little the creeps. That this whole thing expands and this and that. So and of course the Russian And the Russians are very active in general all over the place. There's like
Sure.
hacking along, in companies that get blackmail, and politicians are influenced, and the right-wing people are supported all over Europe, and it's just like a never-ending story. And the same in the US, we have all the same problems.
Sure.
It wasn't
We
further
definitely
discussed,
do.
but I mean, there was a lot more happening than probably the public knows and stuff. So it was kind of like a bitter taste, and so I have to get it into my record too. That's why I have this Russian things going down, the Russian things on the cover, and the Russian
Right.
text, and the Yum Yum Beauty, and the Nasty Thief track, and of course the Yum Yum Beauty is in that case Russia, and the
Yeah.
Nasty Thief you can imagine.
I didn't think about that at the time. And this is something that, I mean, we heard of course, and was very prevalent in the States as well. And we were talking about the situation in the Ukraine, but I didn't really think about from a European artist standpoint just how much more frightening it must have been that it was right on your doorstep, really, and
Exactly.
that this was and is still ongoing. One of the, I don't know, scariest times where really we could be talking about a global type war that could cause serious damage and destruction around the world, not just in an isolated place. And it's a frightful time in the world for a lot of reasons, but that's definitely one, along with the pandemic, that must have been foremost on your mind when
Yeah,
going through
exactly.
this.
But it's also let me say like this. It is with the Russian politics kind of signify the new wave of masculinity. What is wrong in my book. So in the stereotype set, the toxic masculinity that's kind of is recreated after this more liberal times, whatever that means, about
Sure.
more times where women rights got strengthened over the last few decades and this and that. And also this toxic masculinity comes up. And this is this is what Russian politics are all about. No? This
Yeah.
is what other people's politics are all about. That's what maybe Trump is all about. But I don't want to
No, I think that's
interfere with
definitely
that.
true. I think there's definitely an aspect there, but you're right. When I think of Putin, and you see the pictures of him like on a horse or things like this, is such a big part of the culture and ideology that he portrays. There is this toxic masculinity. I agree.
Yeah, but it goes further because it's like toxic masculinity combined with a bully. I'm saying bullyness, bulliness. Because I mean, obviously, it's not only the woman hater and strongman thing, and believe in kind of like certain harder ways to treat other people. It's also that they never stop. A bully never stops. Like the bully in your fucking classroom, he never stops. You cannot
Right.
do anything about it. You cannot even maybe lock him away or something. I'm saying. So there's no way to stop the bully. If you are a soft, normal person like you and me, for example. So this whole thing influenced me also, of course, and this is a new wave of stuff, and you see that, and it also always comes with the right wing, the right parties, and the right moves, and the right politics, and the extreme politics, and it's frightening. I'm saying they have that in every country, and Russia supports the right wing stuff in Europe, and all the
Right.
right wing people who now gain power, they all had like a support by the Kremlin indirectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
this
it's
is
it's
this
a
is stuff that's
terrifying
what this
time.
my record is all about, and that's why I also mentioned the Russian thing and the Russian lyrics in this "Yum Yum Beauty" etc. track. And I wrote the lyrics, but then a friend of mine in Berlin, a Russian friend, translated it and performed it for me. So.
I did notice actually you have four different languages on this record, right? That are spoken on it. I hear, German, English, right? Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting and something you don't see in a lot of records these days to have it be that multilingual.
Yeah, yeah, I always try to do that. I mean, even all that. Merci beaucoup, will bang of you. Vielen Dank, I like to funk. Which is
Uh,
just there's nothing serious, etc. No, they just kind of song.
Another thing that I found interesting on this too, you had a couple different covers on this record. You had one that was a Mona Muir cover, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
really like that song. Even it just, I don't know. I've always enjoyed that version, but I really like this as well. And then, of course, you also had the Faith No More cover, which I thought was a bizarre, different, choice. But I love that song, always have, and such a great band. And I thought your version, I mean, that's a hard song to top, like to do, but make it your own and make it different. And I thought with
Yes.
the kind of harder guitars, and that it really did that. So no, I thought it was a really interesting song. Was there a reason you chose that as kind of a cover or had a meaning to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it started out when I remember KMFDM played some festival in Chicago. That was like in the mid '90s or so. And there was when we arrived there with our buses, and one tour bus after another was parked next to each other. There's always like behind the stage is also very touching thing to see all the band buses next to each other. This
Sure.
is like a little village of weird poser rockers, and. And then in that moment, Face No More was doing a sound check. They played at festival and were headlining it and stuff. And I think also Duran, but it's a different story. But I mean, and then they played the song in that moment, and when we arrived
Oh,
there, I was
wow.
just like, wow. And I like the song for musicality. It's just kind of just build up. It's a certain kind of structure. It's not. It's also kind of unusual because it goes over like 4 bars or something like that. So like only 2 or 1 bar. So it's just kind of interesting. And then I like this intensity, the musical intensity, even if the lyrics are kind of, they could mean this or that, you never know.
Sure.
Is it
Yeah, they're
like
a little
about
vague.
early sexual encounters? Is it like about an inflatable sex doll, like the guy said at some point? So, then he said, oh, it wasn't about nothing. He didn't want to say it either. So, I know, obviously, my version is totally different. I didn't have to, I couldn't top the song like it was. It was very influential at this time. It was like one of the first songs of this kind. I'm saying it was
Yeah,
done in, this kind of like rap metal, in the
sure.
loosest way to say it. I'm saying.
But also,
So,
I'd say too, Mike Patton and Faith No More. Uh, in addition to that, at kind of a time when metal and alternative, I guess you would call it, are kind
okay.
of crossing over, they also added an aspect of, to me, they were very progressive, like a prog, almost, thinking of like a Rush or a Yes, or something like that, King Crimson, where they had, for the most part, pretty complicated songs in a lot of ways, which you'd be surprised they found a popular market like they did, making 8-minute songs or whatnot, but somehow they found their way on MTV the same and did it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting for a choice for a cover because I always thought they were a fascinating band.
Yeah, but to see how I covered it, it's like an electronic reggae or something.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be, and that was the fascinating thing, because I wanted to do like it would be more a reggae-ish song than usual, and that's why I play this kind of elements, what a certain reggae is all about,
Yeah.
like a real reggae, so to speak. The organ and this guitar and this, I copy this kind of reggae-ish vibe to that. If the organ goes like very syncopated on the left hand, that's hard to explain, but and the guitar is like very sharp and short, like the shortest notes,
Yeah. Kind of that upbeat
and so
stripe.
I tried to copy that, but then I put it together with electronica, like we were saying, and to cover the song, and then with the help of my dear friend Mia Fisher, and of course, this is like crazy.
Are there any other tracks that you had on it where, again, kind of thinking in 2024, where you talked about before back then having to try and find new pieces of equipment that allowed you to get out the sounds that were in your head that you wanted to write the song with? Was there any new instrument or plugin or anything like that that you used on this album or played around with you'd never tried before that you used to make this record?
I think I did a few more acoustic recordings. I mixed in with the electronic, but
Oh,
they're like very subtle and kind of like weaved in.
yeah.
So, to make it more organic, and I had a feeling that if you have, and also I worked with a lot of kind of stuff in the background, kind of like a kind of like a rhythmatized noise, and kind of environmental noise and stuff like
Uh,
that, and put it underneath the music, so it has more this organic pumping, like a creature of its own effect. Because if you only use electronic things, just very stereotype and not really doing anything else to it, it's just kind of sterile and
that's
not
true.
very appealing. So you need to make it organic, and that's what the whole electronic thing can be. If you just, people always say, "Oh, you work with a computer that does it by itself, doesn't it?" But it seems like it's harder to work on a computer and be your own producer and stuff like that than go to a fucking rehearsal space and play guitar or bass or drums and sing a little. I'm saying this is the simplest thing. I'm saying. But to sit on the computer and really squeeze the shit out of it, and it's just very hard, and put all the time in intensive uh, um, efforts into it that to make it a special thing and a unique thing is also very hard. But and also to have the bottomless, endless possibilities, and
Right.
it's makes it even harder because I'm not good in deciding. I'm saying I'm not good. I give you 10 things, but I cannot say what's the best. That takes me for a while to get to this point. Like,
Sure.
and then it really hurts me. It hurt me so much to leave certain songs out of this record because I couldn't afford to have more songs and I didn't have time anymore.
Right.
And that was a good thing to work with this give take record people, the label, because
Yeah.
they gave me a little more like a time frame and like a little more discipline. I literally I'm missing because I'm just like, I'm working. I like to work and I like to do this and I like to experiment and like to like in the laboratory. But then the final version and the final mix is a hard step. It's a hard step at all.
That's
You
interesting you
you
say that.
produce the song. The first idea for a song is like it takes like 1 second or 5 seconds or 1 minute. And
Yeah.
you have the core of the song ready, the core idea or the core vibe to it, and then the rest of it takes forever, to make it your own and to beef it up and make it, and then the mix is so hard.
Yeah.
I think mixing is so hard, to make sense, to make a good mix, not just whatever.
Yeah, that and mastering, to me, mastering is like wizardry. That's just outside of reality, trying to find a way to shape it. And I
Yeah,
like that you brought up too. It's there's I'm a big fan of the label and Give Take, and have covered some of their stuff before and talked to them. And it's always interesting for me to hear somebody who worked through different kinds of labels and how labels were different in like the 90s and whatnot versus today, with a lot of artists, saying, what could a label really do for me in 2024 at that juncture? And hearing you say what they did was give you a sense of structure in a way that you needed in order to put your art and your ideas, into a consumable format. But that's a really unique one. I don't always hear, but I think is extremely important, a benefit that a label can do for someone.
exactly. And also, what's special about them otherwise is that they have a certain taste in a certain direction, and give a chance to electronic music that is different. It's not this
Yeah.
kind of stereotype of whatever those kind of goth rock or whatever they want to say. It's just like, so they give a chance to music who actually is rather following my line of, like, let me say, electronic cheesiness, hardcore cheesiness or something. I'm
Sure.
saying, so something like that, so that you put like a different musical aspect and angle to the whole genre, so to speak. I mean, and that's what they actually do. And listen to certain artists that have just fucking crazy stuff. This is totally what I like and what I also trying to do. I'm saying,
Yeah, no, I love to hear that too, and I like to hear you say that because we're a goth band that is a very silly one. We don't take ourselves very seriously at our so I love hearing you say that I do hear that in your music and hear that you're not afraid to do something theatrical, do something with some pageantry to it, because that should be a part of industrial
Yeah,
music.
but also I'm doing something that has humor sometimes, and is I take it very serious, yet I don't.
Sure.
So that's the part of it. So it can be both, and
Life is complicated.
yeah, yeah, it's good.
So I had on my Sounds and Shadows group, I run a Facebook group of artists, musicians, so on and so forth, and kind of ask, I like to ask if there's any questions that someone wants to put forward. So I have one here from Josh Nettles, who said, a big fan of yours, that said, what are some non traditional things that may have inspired the songs that you wrote that weren't music? You know, whether it was a book that you read that was extremely important to you, or a film or something like that, but you feel like influenced your art that wasn't bands you heard.
Yeah, it's I think it's more like the relationship to my parents or so, the relationship to certain spiritual leaders, that like it's outside of the traditional
Yeah,
church and stuff like that. So it has to do with that. So that I'm raised to be uh, that I'm raised to be correct and not like whatever. I mean, just like being upright and honest as possible,
sure.
and being more lovey-dovey and like like have warmth and stuff like that for other people and for life in general. That has influenced, of course, some of it. It's probably the most thing I can think of. Yeah.
That's really interesting, and an answer I've never heard on that before. That's really really cool, and I think you're right. I mean, what influenced us more than, I don't know, a show or something we saw, but like the people around us at our formative years who help kind of form us. And sometimes that's in a positive way, sometimes it's in a negative way, but it's definitely the biggest influence you carry around for certain.
Yeah.
The other question that came through was from a young man named Martin, and he asked the words to War ich nicht immer. Where does that song come from? For a young man named Martin Atkins or something like that, I think it was.
A young man a young man. Is that really? Are you serious? I
No, no,
mean,
yes, Martin Atkins put the uh, comment to my
I think
question
he asked me the same when I had this meet and greet with Raymond
at
at this
the Post Punk
museum.
Museum, Post Punk Industrial Museum.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very simple. The song is called War ich nicht immer ein guter Junge? War ich nicht immer schön und nett? No, ist es gut und nett? I don't even know myself. War ich nicht immer ein guter Junge? War ich nicht immer schön und nett? Ich zerpflückte niemals eine Spinne, war niemals frech und starr. That's the title. That means something like, I always try to be a good boy. I never dismantled an insect.
Right.
I never stole anything, etc. No? And I never was obnoxious. And then it goes further. When it goes to lyrics, it goes like, but then Destiny had some surprise for me, and Destiny wanted to get my ass something. Because it's about the fire I was in. I was in a bad apartment fire that was after the first, or actually during the first ministry, the KMFDM supporting ministry tour, a long
Wow.
time ago in Chicago. So I was staying with a friend, and I woke up, and I was in front of a wall of fire, and I had to escape the fire. There was no other chance, and I had only like a few minutes because I was just waking up, my lungs full of smoke, and I tried to go through the fire. There was no chance, so I just woke up, and I was so, let me say, relaxed and the fact that I had no other option, that I hit the glass, and I jumped through the glass, and I jumped into the cold night of Chicago and landed on the sidewalk naked. And it was February, I can imagine it was very cold. And it was the fourth floor, so I'm not even fourth or fifth floor. It was all the way up there. I remember it was the last apartment. The stairwell was at the end, so that was pretty brutal, and that's still around. Is yeah, it's surprising. So, and because of maybe I might have survived it because I was just so relaxed because I just woke up and I was just like, fuck it, what can I fucking do? That's
Yeah.
probably it. So I gave in to my destiny, and the song is about this whole experience. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. So.
Now Martin got me in trouble. I thought that this was going to be some insider light story that Martin set me up, but instead it's a traumatic event. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I still have some numbs under my left side is still numb at certain parts of my body, and and my hip was my right thing was dislocated in my right hip, and I have issues with that now. And so it's just like it still lasts. So it's and it was I don't know. It was just other people would have died easily in a way, easily.
Well, now I'll have to go get out my pig face record later and replay that and rethink it through different eyes now because that was never something that I thought of when
I
heard.
wrote the lyrics down many times for Martin. They must fly around somewhere on the internet or so. No?
Yeah, I think I have them here on a translate, so I'll be able to look at them.
Uh,
All right, well, I'm gonna go lighten things back up here. Then we're gonna shift gears, and my guitar player that sometimes helps me out on the show here, Colin. One of his other big hobbies is he makes guitars from scratch, like cuts a tree down, every part makes it the entire thing, and so I like asking. I know as a guitar player yourself and doing it, if Colin was to make you any guitar you could imagine in any style, anything, what would your ideal En Esch signature guitar look like?
that's hard to tell. I mean, I had once a guitar built for myself, and it's I kind of neglected the project at the end, so it's just kind of weird. It's a guitar I used in the old KMFDM days. It would like what I always liked in guitars was a whammy bar, of course. It has to have a whammy bar. And even if I play Stratocasters, I would prefer a humbucker. So it was like
Yeah.
and ideally the neck would go through like with the neck goes all the way through the body, and the
Yep.
body is actually two parts that I kind of put
Yeah. A solid state.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so the whole thing has a lot of sustain and has a whammy bar. And but the locked system, I used to have a lot of Floyd Rose guitars and locked system. But in the meanwhile, I'm playing like different whammy bars. They're also relatively stable, so and you can change the tuning a little. So I don't know, but a whammy bar and humbucker and the neck goes all the way through. It would
Yeah. The
be
solid. And you
actually.
like the Stratocaster body style?
Yeah, whatever. Like I don't. It's just it is there, and I like it because I know so many players who played that, and they were pretty
Yeah.
good. And it has to do with that, of course. We got used to that. So.
Good. Good. All right. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, I saw I think it was a Facebook or an Instagram post that you had about your sobriety and an anniversary that you had recently. And to me, I talked with Raymond about this too when I did the interview. And it's just something I find very uplifting and to me takes a lot of mental discipline, a lot of strength. I know several years ago when I quit smoking, and it's still something I think about sometimes. It's a hard choice to make for serious reasons, because especially in the artistic community that we're in. Could you
Mm.
tell me a little bit about what that meant to you and what it felt like to reach that point? And you talked a little bit about it for this record. It was the first one that you had written during your sobriety, and maybe how that process was different for you through a, a different lens that didn't involve alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I also stopped smoking, but it was like more like over 20 years ago or so. No? And
That's there.
it's an interesting thing. So I tried to stop drinking many times before, but it didn't last more than a few days or so.
Sure.
You know, once I was very good. I stopped drinking for 3 months, and I lived in New Orleans. You can imagine. So, and but then that was when I stopped drinking hard liquor. This was like, yeah, that was in the 90s, obviously. And so, and then I started again. Oh, and I was like, oh, I only drink wine and beer now, and.
Sure.
So, because I got on hard liquor, you get like I had like absolute vodka, absolute citron, and chilled, and whatever. It's just that I reached a point that not only looked bad, I had like a hangover all the time, and this permanent craving is permanently looking for alcohol, and let me say, like almost starting drinking under the table every day. And I'm saying, because I didn't want to admit that. And I didn't want other people to see that they're already drinking at 2 in the afternoon. I mean, I was like not a hardcore alcoholic that drinks vodka before the breakfast or so. No.
Sure.
I was drinking, let me say, I was starting drinking at 2 in the afternoon, or maybe a one already if I had a good day. And then, but I was drinking whatever, I was drinking at least 10 beers a day. Between 10 and 14 beers a day is just a lot.
Sure.
And it's not good for your body. And of course, yeah, you don't. I mean, I lost 50 pounds or so, whatever,
Wow.
maybe more. I don't know, But so I lost a lot of weight from stopping, and it was overdue. Basically, it was overdue, and I had no other choice. And it's not easy in the beginning, but I mean, on the other hand, you get used to it, and unfortunately, I now drink a lot of Diet Coke, and that's not good either. So I have to find maybe something around it. Like I had a good experience with the coconut water or so, but I mean, it's you need something to replace that alcohol thing. It's definitely not a good thing. The drinking is a bad thing, and I don't know why it's actually legal, and I don't know why cigarettes are legal. I don't get that either. So it's just,
Sure.
I
Or
mean,
at
I
least
thought,
why where so many other drugs aren't.
yeah,
And but these two are considered okay for some reason, even though they
yeah,
can be just as
yeah,
harmful to
it's,
you and
a
the people around you.
yeah, commercial interests, a lot of big lobby for this kind of stuff. Whatever. I found it in the long run. I found it easier to stop drinking than to stop smoking. Smoking was harder because I had to. I was a heavy smoker too. I smoked 70 cigarettes or so a day. I rolled my own at least, so I didn't have to wait because I always had a feeling that the filter is not good for me. And I was reading that there's little particles of fiberglass getting into your bronchi tubes and all the stuff. So I rolled my own cigarettes. And so I was better off that way. So when I had like 70 of those up to, because I remember that because the packs in Europe, they had like 50 cigarette papers, and then you're
Yeah.
out of them, you need another paper thing. If you have the big pack, it's 50 papers. But this was harder for me, and I got sick and was in bed for a few days, and used that momentum. And to say the same with the drinking. I mean, it was like kind of a colleague of mine also stopped drinking, and it helped me a little. And now it's whatever. November 1st was 4 years and 5 months. So
Congratulations. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, thank you.
Do you feel
And
like it's had a change on your voice at all? I know for me, like for smoking when I quit, I feel like truly, I mean, it changed my singing voice. Have you noticed any difference?
no, I didn't. So my voice is, I'm not really singing, I'm just crawling. So that's why, I mean, I'm not, then I'm like this. So it's not even singing, it's just kind of like, I mean, it's musical and it has notes, but it's like, this comes from somewhere else. No?
Sure.
So, it didn't change a thing. So I don't think so. I think my voice is luckily still the same and maybe even better. There's a lot of people that the voice changed when they get older. I'm saying. In my case, it's basically the same. So, but the drinking was good, and for now, I'm fine with not drinking, and it was a good, maybe like interesting experience to go on tour and because I haven't been out, since I stopped
Sure.
drinking, and of course, being on tour is the
Being in a bar all night. Right.
par excellence. You come into the backstage room, and usually there's like a
Yeah.
cooler with like 50 beer or something like that. So it's like, okay. But so in that case, I can do it and I have no problems with that. And a lot of other people in the band don't drink. Ramy doesn't drink even longer. So I'm saying,
Yeah.
obviously, I think he's at 8 years or so. Yeah. So that's also a good influence.
Yeah. No, that's great news. So kind of tying along with that, like I said, in 2024, you have been doing this and making records and making art your career for as long as you have. What do you still love about it that makes you want to? I mean, there's easier jobs to do. You know what I mean? It's a difficult, taxing career in a lot of ways, and takes a lot out of you. Going out on the road like this, which kind of, as you talked about, can be a physical toll, or just being away from your home, from your family, whatnot. What is it that you still love about this that makes you want to wake up in the morning and keep doing this?
Well, the touring could be more comfortable, of course, but I mean, the
Sure.
writing, the music itself, there's nothing you can do about it. It comes to you automatically. You don't even think about it. You don't plan to do it. It's just like you work on certain things every day and little things. You hear something that influences you or whatever. You have all the ideas you want to finish. It's like a given. It's like it's not something you plan on. Or something. It's just like what you do.
Yeah.
And it's part of your life. And the touring is a different story. It would be better to have a little like a real, comfortable bus or so. What I'm saying. I
Sure.
mean, what we're doing is very underground at the moment, and we do like a little club tour or so. But we go all over the place and through the whole entire country. No, it's like I'm like in South Carolina right now. Yeah, and yeah, to see the people every day, and to see their happy faces and see how they celebrate you, and that's priceless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. All right, we're coming up to the end of the interview now. One of the things I always like to ask an artist, because we're a music review page first and foremost, is do you have a couple of things to share with your fans that you're listening to and enjoying right now, in terms of, new music or things you're hearing? And it could be any genre, it doesn't really matter, but just anything you've heard recently that you found inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of things that I find inspiring. I mean, this was the German artist Haftbefehl, no? Haftbefehl. That's like one of those better German hip hop artists.
Ooh,
So I
okay.
find this some hip hop things are really exciting to me. Also because they're very minimal and they have like maybe the same strength and the same impact than back then the DAF had with the synth lines and
Yeah.
and also sampling it goes on there sometimes like refurbishing the weird stuff.
Yeah.
In classical music and some little keyboard patch in the background and stuff like that, and this intensity. But it has to be the real hip hop, not just kind of sexist hip hop or throwing
Sure.
money around and have all the bitches or whatever to say like that. I'm saying, I mean,
I've
it's
always
like
been a big
all
Public Enemy guy, where I always thought, yes, the hip hop with the deeper intellectual message is kind of the stuff
yeah,
that's always spoken most to me.
good example, yeah, good example. And they also used the Slayer riff, no?
Yeah, yes, yeah, they had the crossover, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what I like is it's a very low tuned, slow stuff, like Captain Ahab or so on. That's kind of like they're really like super slow. Tuk, 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 tuk,
Yeah.
go back, go back. I mean, this is like and slower than that. It's like with this weird kind of concept about Nautic heroes and all the stuff. Captain Ahab, and it's just like so stuff like that. So there's all kind of cool stuff. Also like electronic stuff, like the programming is it's so difficult if you get like into details, and a lot of people do create stuff, and yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this has been a real honor and a real joy. Thank you so much for talking with us. I always like to spin out to one of your new tracks so that people can hear it, get an idea. So off the new album here, if I was to pick one track that you feel like if someone was hearing En Esch solo for the first time, that really encapsulated what you were going after with this
Mm.
record, what track do you want us to spin out to?
This is a hard question, man. I don't know. I like them all. They're all
I know
different, you
you.
know. They're all different. There is no tracks that stands for me by itself. You know, I don't think so. Close your eyes and point it out. So I don't know. It's just it is. I can't tell. And see, they're really all different. No? They're really all different.
It's true.
Um,
I know, like I said, Eden was one that I really, really enjoy. I thought that track was really great, as well as the Get Lost that had Hansel and Gretel on it. Um,
yeah,
that was just a real banger of a track. Both those I think are great ones. But what is it that you would like us to spit out to? Yum Yum Beauty and the Nasty Thief. That's a great one.
yeah. Why don't you play the Face No More cover?
Okay, we could
to
do
to to
Faith No
to
More cover.
to
That's a great one. That's
to
terrific
do
to spit
the
out to.
anti Ash, the cheesy anti Ash. Then the Get Lost is a good track too. You know, I played the guitar there. I played it in inspired by Hansel and Gretel because I tuned the guitar to the same tuning they have, the
that
D
they
to D to C drop. You know. So I usually don't play that low, unfortunately. You know, I should, but you know, I usually don't go further than E to D or so because of my age. I don't know, whatever. But I mean, you know. There's less guitar on this album too. I think there's less guitar, and I was not like down with the idea too much to have guitar everywhere. So I was like more trying to be all over the place. So, I like this sammelsurium, like I say, like kind of also like a museum of tracks. So,
yeah,
you know, it's kind of like I like Get Lost is good, but the Face No More cover is probably the total opposite of it. I'm saying,
that's
you know,
perfect. That's what we'll do.
yeah.
So, from all of us here at Sounds and Shadows, this has been the interview with En Esch. An absolute delight. Go pick up this album. It really is something very eclectic, very different, and hits on a lot of levels. And it's available through Give Take, Dance Hall Putsch. And please go check it out. This is a cover of Faith No More, Epic, featuring Mia Fisher, aka DJ Mia from Lords of Acid. For all of you out there in interweb land, keep it dark, y'all. Yeah.